This episode of Harvey Brownstone Interviews is brought to you by the Harvey Brownstone Talk Show Blend Coffee, available at hollywoodblends.com. Everyone's saying it's the best coffee they've ever tasted. Why not give it a try and see for yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Harvey Brownstone, and today's guest is a highly accomplished actor, singer, writer, producer, and director whose remarkable versatility as a performer has brought him great success. On the big screen, he's appeared in Teen Wolf 2, Torch Song Trilogy, Last Curtain Call, and Independence Day Resurgence. On TV, he played Officer Frank Marino in General Hospital, and he has guest starred in dozens of shows, including Fame, Criminal Minds, Sons of Anarchy, The Closer, Grey's Anatomy, Blue Bloods, Justified, The Fosters, FBI Most Wanted, Weeds, Medium, NCIS, Hot in Cleveland, and many more. He's also appeared in a number of TV movies and miniseries, including Flower Girl, A Valentine's Date, The Perfect Student, Christmas Twister, Runaway, A Christmas Mystery, 16 and Missing, and many more. On Broadway, he starred in Smokey Joe's Cafe and also appeared in A Bronx Tale, the musical. And he co-starred in the national touring production of the Elton John musical Aida. He's also been a successful solo recording artist, and most recently, he's been starring in a fabulous live tribute show to Neil Diamond called So Good, The Neil Diamond Experience, which is an electrifying concert featuring himself, backed up by the amazing band The Mystic, and also featuring his wife, superstar dancer Natasha Neary. Our guest is currently on tour with the show across the country, and now the concert has been made into a movie currently available on Amazon Prime. And if you're a Neil Diamond fan, this TV music special is a must-see. Here's the trailer. Watch this.
Action. Hey, I'm Robert Neary. This is So Good, the Neil Diamond Experience.
Play it now, play it now, play it now, my baby. Let me know to make me smile. Lord, if it lasts for an hour, well, that's alright. We got all night. Let's set this crazy world right, shall we? Find us a dream and don't ask no questions.
I'm delighted to welcome Robert Neary to our show. Bob, thank you so much for being here.
Wow, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much, Harvey, for having me.
Congratulations on the success of your Neil Diamond tribute show. You must be thrilled.
It's overwhelming, to tell you the truth. It is incredibly overwhelming to have this much energy and this much positivity with something like this, and so late in my career, my second half of life. It's just incredible.
Tell me about the attraction and the appeal that Neil Diamond and his music have had for you throughout your life.
I have been a Neil Diamond fan ever since, I would say about 7, 8 years old. My brother had a big record collection. He's about 8 years older than me, and he was playing this Neil. I remember it vividly. He was playing the Neil Diamond album, and I had only up until then I only knew Elvis Presley, and I was listening, and I went in and I said, "Who's this?" And he told me it was Neil Diamond, and I was like, "Wow!" I was drawn to. I think I was drawn to his to his rich timbre, to that, because I was an Elvis Presley fan, and he had that rock and roll grit and that low baritone voice. And I just started listening to him, and I asked if he had any more albums. I think he had 2 or 3. And by 1980s, when The Jazz Singer came out, boom, I was such a big fan. I taught myself how to play the piano, and I would always escape to the music room in high school. And one of the first songs that I learned was Hello Again from the Jazz Singer album.
Have you ever met Neil Diamond?
It's a great question. And I do have this remarkable story. I was doing some music in Nashville in the mid-90s, and I was running a valet service at one of the most popular restaurants in Nashville. And it was late at night, and a car pulled up, and I opened the door, and it was Neil Diamond. And he stepped out. He was with his manager, and I said, "Oh my gosh, you're Neil Diamond." Shook his hand. They went in, had dinner, and I waited till he came out, gave him the keys, and we talked. Of course, back then, yeah, I just told him how great of a fan I was, that I'm an actor and I do music. And he told me he was in town doing an album. Of course, I look back, it was the Tennessee Moon album that he filmed, that he did in Nashville. And no pictures, no phones back then where we could do a selfie. But unfortunately, that's the only time I've met him. But he is aware of this movie, of my show. My publicist has reached out to his publicist to make sure that he gets a chance to see it.
Well, I'm sure when he does see it, you will hear from him. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's wonderful. Neil Diamond's fans call themselves Diamond Heads, and I understand that your fans are calling themselves Cruisers. Is that correct?
Yes, the Cruisers. There during the pandemic, when I started to publicize this show, I went to social media during the pandemic, like so many other people did, and I was just promoting this show because it was so brand new, and I found a great group of people out there, the Neil Diamond fans, the generational fans that love Neil Diamond, also loved, of course, all the other songs through the 50s, 60s, 70s, songwriting songs, 80s. So I put together a show called Cruising Through the Decades, and about 3 or 4 times a week, I would go live on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook with this Cruising Through the Decades show. And they would write in on the website dedications and requests, and I would do these songs, and that's how they affectionately became called my Cruisers.
Well, you have the uncanny ability, Bob, to sound like Neil Diamond when you sing, and I'm wondering, is that easy for you?
It's incredibly easy. I'm an impersonator. I'm an impressionist. I do a lot of different voices, and he was just one that it just came natural to me. So even when I'm not trying to sound like him, and it will, it's in that range. One of the biggest compliments people give me is because I'm a trained singer, is that they'll say, you sound better than Neil Diamond. And I said, well, that's a great compliment. The man's a genius. And I think they're commenting on my vocal my vocal ability. So yeah, and I find myself when I put this show together, I just lived with the headphones on to make sure that I just had all the tones and just everything that he would do with his voice with certain lyrics.
So, just out of curiosity, who are the other singers that you can sing like?
Well, of course, there's Elvis. Of course, there's Elvis. Wise men say only for, little Frank Sinatra. Summer wind came blowing in from across the sea. You know, your little Dean Martin, when the moon hits your eye.
So, you could be doing tribute concert films for a few more stars.
I could do, Neil Diamond's the bread and butter. I hop on cruise ships, to do my Neil Diamond show. And, in between the tour, I hop on cruise ships, mostly the celebrity. And they always ask me, can you do a second show outside of Neil Diamond? So I put together a show where I do all the others. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. In addition to your amazing voice, you're accompanied by a first-class band, the Mystic. That must be a magical feeling to be on stage with these guys.
They are such a blessing. They are such a blessing. This entire journey has just been a blessing. The ball of fate just rolled from the very beginning because I didn't know exactly. I knew I wanted to put together a tribute like this. I didn't know how it was going to happen. And I tell this story, between acts in the show. My wife and my family and I went to a huge Halloween party at a big country club out here on Long Island. This was 5 years ago now. And this band was playing, the Mystic, and they played every single song just perfectly. They sang all the songs of every different genre and every different artist. And they went into Cracklin' Rosie. About 5 songs later, they did Sweet Caroline. And I turned to my wife and I said, wow, could you imagine if I got this band to team up with me and do this show? And again, as fate would have it, this guy came up to me, tapped me on the shoulder, and he said, hey, you know Steve Engel? And I said, yeah, he was my best friend in junior high school. And he said, well, he's up there playing the trumpet. And I hadn't seen him in 25 years because I just moved back from California. And we got together and he told me that he was part of this band for the last 25 years, told him my vision. He said, talk to the owner, who runs it, the keyboard player, Sam. We got together for coffee and, we hit it off. And here we are 5 years later touring the country.
Well, it's a great combination. I loved the movie. You produced and directed the concert film of your show that we see on Amazon. Were there a lot of challenges in getting that film made?
Oh my gosh. The biggest one, the editing, of course, was very intricate because I'm a perfectionist. So I sat down with the editor and it took about 4 months to edit the entire film. But yeah, the biggest trick and the hurdle that we had to do was getting the rights from Universal for all the songs. I have a entertainment lawyer who I went to high school with as well, and he knew the people over there at Universal, and they just wanted a real lot of money. They wanted a lot of money per song, and we do 22 songs. And at first I was thinking, well, maybe I can cut it down. And he said, no, let's offer them this much and then just a big back end. And they accepted. And that took a while. That took that took another 4 or 5 months process because we were in the back of the line. That's what my buddy kept saying. He said, we're not offering a lot of money, so we're in the back of the line, and when they finally got to us, they worked out the agreement with us. And so I think I'm getting about 2 cents every time someone downloads it.
Okay, well, that's going to change after today's show gets out there. I have to tell you, Bob, in the movie, there's a very touching moment during the concert when you introduced your parents to the audience. That must have been a really special moment for you.
Yeah. My mom. Now you got me. They're my biggest fans. Ever since I was a little kid, and they've always been supportive. They didn't know anything about the business when I was younger. I just told them I wanted to be an actor and they did what they could. They paid for headshots. They paid for me to go into the city. on the train for auditions, in the late 70s, early 80s. And then when I graduated high school, I just said, there's nothing for me here. And I went out to California, became a huge actor. Well, not huge, but I was successful. I was never that A-list actor, but I was very successful. They were always, always very supportive. Came to all my shows when I was in high school. My dad videotaped all the shows. And, when this happened, they were just so happy, so incredibly ecstatic. They came to the first, all the shows down Long Island. And when I was able to just, do that, they celebrated their 60th anniversary. Yeah, it was fantastic. My mom just turned 90. My dad turned 85 this past summer. It is. It's just to see them out there, to see the smile on my mom's face. My mom said to me one time, I remember this very, as a struggling actor, she goes, I don't know, God gave you so much talent, and you're just not doing anything. You can't do anything with it. And now here I am. So
Well, it must feel really good in your heart that you immortalized your parents in that movie.
yeah, yeah. A lot of people have commented, and when we were editing it, I gave them notes. I gave the cameramen notes, it's specific notes, and they did wonderful with the notes, because I said, make sure that when I'm singing this song, there's a camera on my mom and dad. And and when we were editing it, it was just fantastic. It started to drizzle. My mom had her little rain hat on at that moment, and the lighting from it was just great. It was a wonderful moment. Yeah,
It
thank you.
really, really, really is. And your wife, Natasha, also appears in the movie as a dancer. I understand you met her when you were both on Broadway in Smokey Joe's Cafe. Is that right?
Yes, yes, yes. 1996. Yeah, this month, as a matter of fact, I did that. I went there, and she was my partner. I was the first replacement in Smokey Joe's Cafe. She was my partner, and we hit it off. We were friends. We were just friends at first, and it just developed. It just developed into an incredible relationship. And yeah, here we are, 28 years later. She's still the best dancer that I've ever seen, and we're doing 3 shows this weekend. And, she's able to do a show or two, and she doesn't tour with us because she does have, her other job, and she's an artist, so she doesn't have much time. But when she can, she just escalates the show, and people just love her. And it's great. It's great to be able to share the stage with her, all these times after all these years.
Yeah, the two of you on stage together, it's very electric. We
Yeah.
also we also get to meet your two children in the movie. Are they big
Mhm.
Neil Diamond fans as well?
If I ever hear that song again, Dad, no, they're not. No, no, no. If they ever hear a Neil Diamond song, they go, "Is this you?" It's not on their playlist, uh, but they love the show. They love the show. They love every time they see it. My son will say to me, "Dad, that was the best show you've ever done." And they love being a part of it. My daughter will be the photographer, and when my son can, work his magic as the cameraman. He was one of the camera operators there in the show, and works as a roadie. But they're both in college now, and they're having a great time.
I think that the warmth that comes through in that concert on the screen is largely not only because of your talent and the great band, and the songs are, of course, winners, every single one of them,
Mhm.
but it's that this whole family connection comes through to the audience, and it's really quite lovely. And I want you to know that.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
So, of course, I have to ask you, Bob, what do you think of the Neil Diamond Broadway show, A Beautiful Noise?
All right, so we'll be honest. So at the very beginning of this whole thing, my show was being, during the pandemic, I was slowly doing it, and I knew the producer. He had worked with us before, after our Bronx Tale had ended, and I knew the producer, and I was in touch with him, and he said he wanted to bring me in, once the pandemic ended, and they brought this in. But I found out that they had already precasted the show. I found out that they had already precasted the show. So I just politely told them I'm not interested, in a standby role or an understudy role. And they sent me the script. And I'm going to be honest with you, as a Broadway guy and as a stage performer, not just as a Neil Diamond fan who just loves the music, I didn't enjoy the script. I just didn't enjoy the script. I didn't go, so I have not seen it, but I've seen many, many clips. I've seen many clips. I've seen everything, but I'm really not a fan of it. I just, as a performer and an artist, they just went into a lot of areas, that was just very, very, and for lack of a better word, cheesy, you know. But it works for fans of Neil Diamond, for people who see Broadway shows. It works because that's Broadway. That's the way it is. It's got to be bigger. It's got to be, you got to have all the choreography and all that stuff. For someone who wants to just be a part of a Neil Diamond concert and experience, that's where I step in. And one of the last emails I remember emailing the producer, I said, I'm rooting for your show. I'm rooting for your show. I hope it does well. Good luck with it, because it will only enhance my show more. Because people see that show, they see my show, and that's pretty much what they tell me when we do a meet and greet afterwards. They say, you seen the Broadway show? You should be Neil Diamond. Why aren't you Neil Diamond? And I said, well, I have this. And they say, well, that was so good, but we love this. So again, it goes hand in hand. But I only say what I said about it as a critical point, because as an artist, as an actor, as somebody who looks at something, it's like a director watching another movie. Tons of people can love the movie, but the director of it, will say, well, I wouldn't have done that, and I didn't care for that. So that's my honest opinion.
Well, I'll give you my honest feedback. The Broadway show is a piece of theater, but the advantage of your show for fans is that it's a concert, and we get to imagine ourselves at a Neil Diamond concert. And I know you're taking the show currently on tour. You're going all across the country. Are you having a good time?
Oh my gosh, we are having an incredible time. We just got back from two cities. We have three this weekend, and then we head out for 12 cities in the next 2 months. I just posted 55 cities throughout the next couple of years. It's incredible. And the guys with the Mystic, who have, they're accomplished. Some of them are just the greatest musicians. They have such a resume, and they're so thankful, that in this part of their life, they're all retired now, and they do the Mystic gigs, and they do these phenomenal, huge weddings and these great corporate and events and everything. But they love coming out with me. They say this is just, we're playing in front of, hundreds of people, up to 1,500 people in venues. The accolades are so great. We get to tour together. We just get to have a great time, and we're all in our 50s and 60s. And it's fantastic. It really is, the touring part. And I never would have dreamed of it. I wanted this. I always pictured it, but to have it happen so quickly, like I said, it's just overwhelming and just an incredible blessing.
I'm so happy for you. So, Bob, you've appeared on Broadway. You've acted in movies and TV shows. You've been a recording artist. Now you're performing in concert. Of all the types of performing you've done, do you have a preference?
Well, this is definitely, the icing on the cake. This is the live accolades, that happen, the applause, the people's faces. People, when they shake my hand and they have tears in their eyes because they say that you brought back so many memories of my mom and dad when I was younger, that nothing compares to that. People ask me if I miss acting, in front of the camera and everything. And I said, yeah, I do, because it's, you get to, I played a lot of bad guys, and, to be able to, generate that kind of acting, it was phenomenal. I worked with major stars. But that's a process. That's get up at 4 a.m., sit in your dressing room or your trailer the whole day. You go out there, you can do it again and again and again and again until you get it right. But you get one shot. You step on that stage, you get one one shot to make it right. You screw up the lyrics, no big deal. Just, you know, there's nothing better. There's nothing better.
Well, you know, Bob, we have a lot of soap opera fans on our show. So, of course, I have to ask you about your work on General Hospital. You played Officer Marino back in 1991, and then you came back in 2015 and played Jenkins.
Yeah.
You've also appeared in The Bold and the Beautiful. Do you enjoy working in soap operas?
That's a quiet, you know, when I did General Hospital, it was great because it was a one-day guest star to work with Jack Wagner, who played Frisco Jones. And they turned the scene that I was in with him went so great. They called my agent. They said, "Well, we're going to make Robert, you know, Jack's partner." So that's why I was there the entire time. So I was his partner on the police force during that entire year. It's completely different. That soap opera work is completely different than film. It's a good paycheck, but it's a daily routine. It's you get there, you get on the set, you do your thing, and then you leave. Three cameras are shooting at the same time. I've done sitcoms where you get the three camera, but you have the live audience, which is it's really, really cool. But you know, if I had my druthers, you know, if I was offered it, fine. But if I had, you know, a choice, I wouldn't do the soap opera if I had a better choice, like what I have today. It's just it became a routine. You know, it was a job. It became a job. Yeah.
One of my favorite TV series that you were in is called Destiny 7, which is about 7 individuals from different walks of life who are chosen to help people who are in need of a miracle. You appeared in 5 episodes of that show. Was that a meaningful experience for you?
I actually wrote and created that series. I created the whole series. Unfortunately, you know, it's not available on streaming or anything like that. But this was a faith-based TV show, and Sony Television was behind it up until a point, and we had everything going with the series, and that's why it was never, you know, released to the public. But it was just an incredible time. It really, I mean, the people that did get the chance to witness it and to be a part of it, it's just, you know, they could. It was, I think it was a lot. It was way before its time, you know, because now you get a lot of TV series that are faith-based and they have these same kind of things where miracle will happen and everything like this. But, you know, it's kind of like Touched by an Angel meets Lost. That was our pitch line. Touched by an Angel meets Lost. And, you know, Sony Television loved that. I tell my producing partner every once in a while when, you know, for that, you know, what do you think if we ever brought, you know, Destiny 7 back and, you know, more people got to see it and everything? He's like, "Well, you're way too busy to have that happen."
Well, I'm not so sure. I think it really was ahead of its time. I deliberately chose to ask you about it in this interview because I want people to be curious about it. I think
wow,
it's
yeah.
really, really great. Now, at one point in your career, you were in Nashville recording contemporary gospel music. So you must be a man of faith.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I am. I was brought up Catholic, and then, you know, big Catholic boy here on Long Island. But in my travels, you know, going out to California, my acting, you know, and living a Hollywood lifestyle, you know, I was introduced to everything in the world. I actually came to a point where I needed, you know, because of my Catholic background, you know, I knew of God, but I didn't know God, you know, and I didn't know Christ, and I didn't know, you know, the Christian faith. And I got to a point where I just had to step in and say, okay, if you're there, you know, show me. And that's simple. What I tell people, I said, he showed me. And when I don't beat anybody over the head, you know, everybody has their own form of belief and religion. I just simply tell them what happened to me. You know, just with like my children. You know, we don't force anything on my children. We don't force anything here in the family. They simply know my story. They know what happened, and they know who I am today because of it. And the people in the group, you know, my band, there's not a show that we go out in without circling up for about 5 minutes. And, you know, I just thank the Lord for orchestrating this, and because that's what I believe in. And that's, you know, it's even in the film, our little circle of prayer. And people come to me and they just say, "I love that you do that. I love that you do that." and yeah, I am a man of faith because of what's happened to me personally.
So if they ever make a biopic about Neil Diamond, would you be interested in portraying him in his, middle-aged years?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. When I found out about the Broadway musical, I had thought that they were going to just I that's how I thought they were going to do the musical. I thought they were going to do, like they did the Donna Summer show. I thought they were going to have maybe two parts of his life, which they do, but they go to the extreme. They don't have his middle life where he was the hottest ticket in the 90s. When he was in his 50s and his 60s, he was the hottest ticket in the 90s and 2000, bigger than Elton John, Michael Jackson, Madonna. And I had actually thought that they were going to use somebody for the early years and then use somebody, for the later years in half and half. But that's not how they did it. But I would love the chance, especially with my background as an actor, but they'll hire Hugh Jackman, sure.
You don't know that for sure. I think the fact that they didn't do it in the Broadway show leaves it open to make it.
Yes.
Either a miniseries or a movie. And, you are a man of faith. Your destiny has already taken you places you could never have anticipated. So I wouldn't write it off so quickly.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it definitely could be out there. I'm about to turn 60, so I still got about 10 years for that to happen. It's picking up steam like crazy. We have one of Hollywood's biggest orchestrators now charting for a symphony in 2026. This is going to have another structure, another turn where it's going to be so good. The Neil Diamond Experience, the symphonic celebration, and we're going to be in symphony halls. So it just keeps snowballing. It really does.
Well, I'm very excited for you. I wanted you on the show as soon as I saw the movie on Amazon and wanted the opportunity to share my platform with you to promote it. It's been such a pleasure meeting you. Congratulations on the success of your concert film. It's on Amazon Prime and on your tour. And thank you so much for taking the time to appear on our show, Bob.
Thank you. Thank you, Harvey, so much. It was an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
Our guest has been Robert Neary, whose concert special entitled So Good, The Neil Diamond Experience is now airing on Amazon Prime. To learn more about Robert Neary and see his concert tour schedule, please go to his official website, sogoodtheneildiamondexperience.com. And you can also see many great performances from the show by going to the YouTube channel, So Good, The Neil Diamond Experience. My name is Harvey Brownstone. Thank you all for joining us. See you next time. Thank you to my producer, Steve Silver, my managers, Rick Marcelli and Robin Bragg Marcelli at the Marcelli Company in Hollywood, my director of programming, Robert Monaghan, my PR directors, Eileen Shapiro and Jimmy Starr, and my entire team at the XPTV1 network in the UK.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out all the great interviews on the Harvey Brownstone Interviews YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified when new videos are posted.